Hey everyone, we are live here. This is the OCA monthly meeting for October, and we've got a lot of special things planned for you. We're excited that you can join us. This is really cool that we get to meet like this monthly online, and we hope that you continue to support us by watching it. Hey, feel free to share the link with as many people as you want. We love knowing that more people are watching this. It encourages us to keep doing more things like this, especially when you think about the fact that the yearly extravaganza is coming up, and we're not actually able to do it in person. We're going to be doing it virtually, and this gives us a sense of like what to expect when you guys share this and watch and comment and let us know what you think. And so I have with us here right now Lou. He is the president of the OCA, and he has quite a few announcements he wants to give you, letting you know about the exciting things that are going to be taking place with the extravaganza.
Yeah, I'm going to try to tell you about just about everything that's going on in it in as short a time as I can, so our guest has as much time as possible. We have a major sponsor that you should be aware of. It's a company called Zogari.com, local to our area. I think it's got a brick and mortar store in Barberton, and and the website sells all kinds of stuff. So check out Zogari.com. That's Zogari. Okay. So the extravaganza, the virtual extravaganza, you know, this is the first time we're doing this, trying to put a lot of stuff into it. First thing to know is all the profits go to the Jim Smith Fund. And the Jim Smith Fund, we give yearly grants to those who work and promote cichlid and catfish research, education, and conservation. Over the years, we've given over $20,000 to various, people who have projects, and people make requests for the grants. We study them, look over, decides which ones we're going to fund. Okay. The extravaganza itself, if you want to watch it, it will be streamed live over a private Facebook group that you will be admitted to if you register for the $7 registration, and an unlisted YouTube channel. Okay, so there'll be two ways to participate, but like I said, you have to register. It is we're trying to recreate as many aspects of the real extravaganza as we can. Obviously, some of them we can't recreate the hospitality room as much as we'd like to. It just doesn't work. But we will, for example, have speakers. Okay, 3 sessions, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday of the traditional weekend of the extravaganza, the weekend before Thanksgiving. We'll have Jeff Cardwell, Odd Konings, and Håkon Haagensen. He will be joining us streaming live from Norway on Sunday afternoon. Of course, it's going to be Sunday night there. And he's we don't know him over here yet, but in Europe, he's pretty well known in the catfish, their events over there. So Håkon Haagensen will talk about lorcariids on Sunday. Here's another thing. We like extravaganzas to have the opportunity to buy fish we don't normally see, right? So each session will have a big name cichlid and catfish dealers doing short videos. And part of that video is they'll tell you how to get special discounts from their fish, for their fish, that are exclusive to virtual extravaganza attendees. Okay, so you watch them. There's going to be, I think, 6 segments, and you're going to maybe 6 segments. I think 12 segments. Okay, they're going to be information that you'll want to see. You get to see their, and a lot of those guys are going to be the same people you see in the vendor room at the extravaganza. So you'll see a little bit about their operation and get the discounts. Another place we like that we don't see is at the auctions. We're going to have rare fish auctions running during each session. The minimum bid is shipping cost. So once you bid on it, as soon as somebody bids on it, it's that price then will include shipping, and it'll be shipped directly from the dealer to you. again, it's big name dealers, and some of them we know from the extravaganza. Some of them are going to be new to us. We often do raffles for the Jim Smith Fund, 50-50 raffles. So we can't really do a raffle, but we're going to do something similar. We're calling it the Donors Award drawing. When you register for your $7, you will automatically get 2 tickets in the Donors Award drawing. You can also get more tickets by direct donations to the Jim Smith Fund, $5 donations, and you can do it right there on the registration page. Each $5 donation will get you 3 more tickets in the donors drawing for $100. The prize is $100. Okay. So, register, get a few more tickets by making $5 donations. You make, if you make if you donate $10, you get 2 + 3 + 3. So there's 8 tickets in the drawing right there. The drawing will be Sunday toward the end of the broadcast, and we'll also announce this year's winner of the Jim Smith Award grant. So how about the show? We all like the Cichlid and Catfish show. We're going to try something entirely new here, a virtual show. Nobody's ever done this before, to our knowledge. It's going to be based on 15 to 30 second videos, and the detail, and they have to be submitted during the month of October. So if you want to do that, you have to find all the details on our website, and on the Facebook group and in our bulletin. But to get it to the website, the easiest way to do that is by going to ohiocichlid.com, ohiocichlid.com. Hover your cursor over where it says extravaganza, and you will see a drop box, and there's a choice there to register for the extravaganza. It brings you to the registration part of our store, and a box where it gives you all the information for the show and what you have to do to do that. It's $5 per entry, and there's going to be prizes. All the details are on there. I don't want to take up too much time here. Pretty good cash prizes and trophies that are going to be stuff that you can win there. Quick look at, so if you have any questions, get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook. Email me if you know my email address. You probably find that in the bulletin, and we'll figure out everything that you need to know. You can ask questions on Facebook too. The other thing we're doing now is virtual BAP submissions. This is another subject now, and it's where people can get their Breeders' Award points, even though there's no live meetings. To do that, again, go to ohiocichlid.com. This time, hover your cursor over meetings, and then a drop box will give you BAP virtual, and all the instructions are there, everything you have to know. That OCA members only, of course, since it's our BAP program. So we've had every month since we started doing this, we've had people turning them in, and here are the ones that got turned in for October, for the October meeting. A new participant turned in a catfish BAP. His name's Bob Musial. He turned in Scleromistax barbatus. So welcome, Bob, to our BAP program. And when the meetings start up again, I hope we get to meet you and get to know you, and that you turn in more BAP later as we go. Another catfish entry was by our board member, Hillary Lacerda, Hypancistris L401. And then we had two cichlid entries. John Tessar, who's been making good use of this program, turned in Japhyrchromis orange top morii. And the big one, we have Jonathan Straczynski blows through the 1,000 point level to get him master breeder status. So Jonathan turned in Trichromis salvini from Rio Grijalva, and He's a new OCA master breeder. Congratulations to Jonathan. So there we go. All right. So our speaker is the head aquarist at the Cleveland Metroparks Zoo. He has been doing that for a long time, very experienced, one of the most aquatically knowledgeable people in our area, no doubt. He works with a project called Piaba, Project Piaba, that he's going to tell you all about. But we do like to mention that they take donations, and we got a nice donation, a $50 donation for directly to Project Piaba from RMS Superstore, pet supplies, great store over there in Middleburg. So go in there, and if you see Steve, thank him for making the donation, and because it's a heck of a program, as you'll see. I'll let Nick tell you about it. Here is Nick Zarlinga.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for letting me spend a Friday night with you. Thank you, Lou, and to the OCA for letting me talk to you guys tonight. I'm involved in a project that I'm very excited about, and I'm really looking forward to telling you more about this. As Lou said, I work at the Cleveland Zoo. I've been at the zoo now for 27 years. It's been a very long time. Much of that time, I've also been involved hobby-wise, too, with the Cleveland Aquarium Society. I lead that group. It's a small group, and many of those members hopefully are here watching this presentation, too. I've got a lot of good information that I want to get started, want to get through to you guys. A lot of slides. We'll have time for questions hopefully afterwards. Love to talk to you more about this. So let's just jump right into this, okay? See how this works here. Okay. So here we go. Again, this is a conservation project. You know, we're all animal lovers in this business. We love animals. It's what we do. It's what our passion is, whether you're a hobbyist, professional, doing this, just getting paid on a daily basis for this or whatever. So we all have these long-held beliefs, and I want to challenge your mind on some of this. So we're going to come up with a couple of terms here. What do these kind of terms, what kind of emotions do they instill in us? All right. When we talk about wildlife trade, we talk about the exotic pet trade, we talk about wild animal export, we talk about animal trade, and then the pet trade. To a lot of people, these things mean different things, right? Is there anything indicating illegal activity? Is there anything indicating unethical activity? Is it unscrupulous? A lot of people would think so. Does it just sound bad? It can. So are these the kind of things you think about when we talk about those kind of things? We see animals in cages here for lab, for unscrupulous pet stores, the bird trade, these kind of things. Let's talk about a couple other terms. We talk about ecological. We talk about environmental stewardship, green, eco-friendly, pets. These things sound a little bit better. They really do. So here's the conundrum, right? Is it possible to equate these two things so that this way we can get our message out? Can these terms be associated with the feel-good word sustainability? This is a big word. We are all aware of this today. It just makes everything feel good, right? This is what we're shooting for. So what is sustainability? Many people associate sustainability with never taking anything from the wild, and generally think of captive bred is better than wild caught. There's a number of different definitions for sustainability in the dictionary, and basically it's essentially harvesting or using resources so that the resource is not depleted. This is a Venn diagram. you guys may be familiar with Venn diagrams. In order to be sustainable, there are three parts. There's three pillars. It's people, planet, and profit. And you can see where it intersects there, that dark green. When we take those three things into account, that is sustainable. That's what we're shooting for. It can't just be for people. It can't just be for the planet. It can't just be for profit, whatever our motives are. It has to be for all three. This is extremely important. So the zoo industry, conservation industry in general, we go around all kinds of impoverished places around the world, and we tell people, no, no, no. We preach conservation. Save the animals, right? Don't kill the animals, save the animals. But how do you choose? If you're a family with limited resources like what we have here, when we look at things like logging and we look at things like ranching and mining, bushmeat, poaching, we look at these kind of things and think, wow, these things are really bad. But all of these activities to families that have very limited resources that live in these areas, they just represent a way to feed their family. And that's extremely important for us to understand. They're just trying to make a living. They need to feed their family just like we need to feed our families. So the key to conservation is to connect people's welfare with environmental welfare, all by giving them income. And it's most successful in areas of high biodiversity and extreme poverty. And here's our three pillars again: people, planet, and profit. How do we balance this out? Well, I want to introduce to you Project Piaba. The tagline for Project Piaba is buy a fish, save a tree. What does this mean? This is what we're going to talk about. And the beauty of this project is every single one of us as fish geeks out there that just love this hobby so much, we can all contribute to saving a tree. So it's basically a story about how little fish are saving the rainforest. In this case, we have Cardinal Tetras. That's going to be a very popular theme that we're running through this whole presentation here. It's a very popular theme for Project Piaba. What is Project Piaba? Well, what does Project Piaba do? It initiates a drive for environmental stewardship that people can profit from. And again, people, planet, profit. Just want to hone those, just hammer those three pillars in. Really important. Project Piaba is a nonprofit organization, and it helps a fish co-op by facilitating sustainable wild aquarium fish trade in the Rio Negro drainage of the Amazon basin. And basically what it does is it provides a source of income to the local people so that they do not need to resort to destructive environmental practices for their survival. So when we look at the aquarium industry, there's just a number of statistics here. You can read these, and we know how statistics are. You can fudge statistics anyway, but we know that the aquarium industry is extremely popular. There's reports that 11% of the population has fish at home. 105+ million people keep fish, and then fish keepers around the world spend over $1.4 billion on their hobby. And I just threw this in as a side note. It's not directly related to this, but the ornamental marine industry, aquarium industry, represents, you can see that there, 0.0001% of the fish caught from the sea globally. It was just an interesting statistic that just relates to us for the hobby in general. So the vast majority of aquarium fishes, mostly freshwater fishes, and that's what piaba means in Portuguese, aquarium fishes, ornamental fishes. The vast majority are freshwater and farm raised. And of course, when we say farmed raised, this makes things feel good, right? We think this is a good thing. The problem is it's not these farms are not based in the countries of origin from where these fish are found. And therefore, the problem with that is the benefits of the biodiversity are not realized in those countries. They're basically realized halfway around the globe.
Hey, Nick, real quick.
Yep.
On your share screen,
Yeah.
there's a pop-up at the bottom that wants you to
there's
hit
hide.
hide. Yeah.
Do that.
You might want to just, maybe if you exit out a little bit and it'll show, can you see that hide button?
That's
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yep, I had a few people just say, noticing that. No problem.
It was driving me crazy too, actually. That's good. Okay. All right, let's talk about the Amazon River Basin. We know this, right? A huge variety of aquarium fish come from there. There are thousands of species. It's a hot spot for biological diversity. Produces over 20% of the world's oxygen. It's home to more species than any other than any terrestrial ecosystem on the planet. And this gives us a little idea of where we're at here. So we know this is South America. The yellow is the Amazon Basin. That purple river there is a Rio Negro. This is the study area of Project Piaba. It's the largest tributary of the Amazon. It's 1,400 miles long. Rio Negro, of course, is Black River. And let me tell you, it is black. It is amazing. So we're going to talk about my trip down there a couple of years ago. I just want to throw this out. This picture, it's hard to explain. This is from a boat looking straight down into the water. The white is sand, a white sand sandbank. And then you can see how that the water basically goes from yellow to tea colored to coffee color. It is absolutely incredible to see essentially millions and millions and millions of gallons of what looks like coffee just right up underneath you. Discharges 3 times the amount of water as the Mississippi. So if we look at this picture, let's see, you can see the Amazon is the tan that goes right across the center of your screen there. And the Rio Negro is the one that sort of goes up at a 45-degree angle there. And you can see how dark it is. And the tannins from the water basically is organic matter that comes from leaves, wood, etc., which percolates through the soil or through the rain, because of the rain, on its way to the river. And that's what causes tannins. We're all familiar with this, right? You put some driftwood in your aquarium, oftentimes that's going to tint your water a little bit. Some people love that. If you're trying to do a black water aquarium, certainly. Other people are just trying to figure out ways, throw a bunch of carbon in there to get rid of that. I can tell you it's absolutely amazing when you see it in person. So let's get something straight. When we're talking about fishermen and fisherwomen in the Amazon, this is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about these indigenous tribes that are, sort of our stereotypical what we think of people of the Amazon rainforest. This is not what we're talking about. Instead, we're talking about people like this here. They still live in huts. They wear more Western clothes. You can see this is they're very happy people. This is a mother with her daughter, and this sort of shows a house. They have simple houses. Notice the stilts. We're going to talk about that shortly. But it's very simple. A couple of rooms in there, an open kitchen, bedroom, and just simply made. The kids, wear Western clothes, and many of them live in villages that are big enough where they have schools. So this trip that I went on through Project Piaba, they do this every year. Here's the trip, right? So down in the right-hand corner is Manaus. Manaus is the largest city in that region. It's the largest city of the Amazon River Basin, of the Amazon River there. So Manaus is right on the Amazon. And then again, 45-degree angle up to the left there is Barcelos. That's a 300-mile trip. So we did this trip that was 300 miles from Manaus up to Barcelos and then back. And this was a 2-week trip. There are a few roads in the Amazon, right? It's basically water. The rivers are the highways. In the Amazon, they have things like water taxis. They have water school buses. They have gas stations that are floating. And they even have river Ubers. This was our home base. You can see this boat here. It was called the Iracema. It's pretty well appointed. It can hold up to 24 participants. There's 12 rooms with bunks, 8 or so people, staff that were taking care of us while we were doing our conservation work. And I want to point out those 3 canoes, those 3 green long canoes that you see behind the river. I'm sorry, behind the boat there. Those were basically our avenue into the jungle. Our trip was 2 weeks. Again, first week up, so we got to Barcelos and then back down the river. And on the way, we learned about the culture, the fish, wildlife. And again, these canoes allowed us to get into the jungle off of the main Rio Negro and into the tributaries where all the fun is. We saw a ton of amazing habitat. This was the first place that I've seen Cardinal Tetras in the wild. It was just, it was one of those defining moments in your life. Growing up, we've all had our tropical aquarium fish, and to see them in the wild, especially Cardinal Tetras, is pretty amazing. But take a look at the water. This just looks red, and this is incredible. This particular habitat, the water was red. It was like red Kool-Aid or Killian's. It was pretty incredible. It was very different than the mainstream of the Rio Negro, the main Rio Negro, which, as I said, was a dark brown coffee color. We saw a lot of cool things. We saw birds, really cool macaws, cormorants, hummingbirds, kingfishers, of course, parrots, trogons. I think these are red-headed cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if you can take a look at this bird. It may be hard to see what it is. This is a bird flying. It just looks like a dart and arrow. If you can see, that's actually a toucan flying in the air. We almost never see toucans fly, right? It was really impressionable on me to see these guys flying. Saw lots of herps, little turtles, iguanas, caiman. This picture here was right below us at night. You can sort of see the caiman head there. There was a 6-foot caiman directly below us, again, about 3 feet in about 3 feet of water. Yellow spotted Amazon turtles, frogs, Amazon tree boas, just really weird bugs. This was a bullet ant nest. If you're not familiar with bullet ants, there are these big, huge ants. They're about an inch long. And when they bite you, they say that it really feels like you've been shot, and it lasts for like a day or two. They're really incredible. Really weird bug, some kind of cicada or something like that. Not sure what that was. This grasshopper was longer than my finger. Termite mounds, big hairy spiders all over. And then just some other weird things. Big apple-type snails. This was a sponge that apparently goes dormant in the dry season, and during the rainy season, when the water floods, is when it basically comes back to life in a way, comes out of its estivation. I didn't even know there were crabs like this down in the Amazon. This was really cool to see. And I had no clue what this was. It was just on a branch, and I'm like, it's living, but I had no idea. And of course, mammals, sloths, bats, possums, monkeys, of course, and things like this. This is called an owl monkey.
I can't heard it all. I heard it all.
Pretty cool, neat stuff. Now, this was probably the highlight of the trip, but let me back up for a second here. I work at a zoo, right? And how do I explain this here? I'm always fighting for fish so that this way we don't forget fish, right? I'm one of those people that's like, oh, animals are, the mammals are cool. But we have a saying, right? Mammals drool, fish rule. But I gotta say again, this was one of my highlights of the trip right here. We were in a village in the river. We had some fish. We were out in waist deep water. And then all of a sudden, we had these Amazon River dolphins come up. Now, I'm not a big dolphin person. I'm not a big whale person. They're all cute. That's fine. I'd rather be with fish. But these Amazon River dolphins were pretty darn incredible. I will tell you that. Pretty amazing. I do have to admit. So we spent some time with these guys, feeding these guys. Their shape is incredible. They're so incredibly intelligent. There's a whole cultural understanding with these guys from the people down in the Amazon. They're really pretty incredible. And we noticed a lot of animal behavior. This was a big, huge black caiman. We were on these canoes, and off in the distance, one of our guides started making these calls, and he's pointing out, and we can just see this caiman. It was farther out, and he started making these calls, and this caiman sort of turned, started looking at us, started coming at us, and all of a sudden just started making these grunting noises and these big bellows, and he took his head out of the water, started shaking, and it was pretty incredible to see that too. And then, of course, fish. And we saw lots and lots of fish. Not all of them were dead like this. We're all familiar with our red-tailed catfish, right? There were these weird stingrays. There's a number of different species of stingrays, as we know, down there. I've never seen anything with this short tail like this. I've seen some from Asia like this. Personally, I wasn't aware that these were down there. They're pretty neat looking. Piranhas, of course. Lots of plecos. There are 470 some species of catfish, I believe, in the Rio Negro and its tributaries. These were a couple of really impressive bushy nose. Sort of your standard type of pleco. And then, of course, you have to have your creepy speaker picture taken with a fish. Lots of talking catfish. Again, Cardinal Tetras, other types of Tetras. Discus. We didn't see a lot of Discus, unfortunately. I was hoping to. We saw some Discus. Silver dollars, exodons, lots and lots of Pike cichlids, miniature Pike cichlids. This really surprised me. We would see there were a ton of different varieties of Pike cichlids down there. In the area we were at, I didn't see any of the really outstanding colorful ones, but lots and lots of dwarf ones, small ones. There were some larger ones too, but it really surprised me how many different types of, or I should say just the biomass of Pike cichlids down there. Festivums, splash tetras. Just like seeing Cardinal Tetras was one of those things, those moments that makes you take pause. Seeing angelfish in the wild was another one. Really incredible. Being able to snorkel with the angelfish in the flooded forest was really fantastic. Things like needle nose, these geophagus types. And then, of course, we did some, well, we'll call it biological sampling, right? Peacock bass, there's several different species of peacock bass. I was pretty happy to catch 4 different species. This was a 7-pounder I caught that I was pretty proud of. I was very excited about that. And then this is a bunch of us on that canoe looking foolish over the edge with our string and our raw meat there. And of course, what were we catching? Piranhas. Lots and lots of piranhas. We did get a couple of pacu in there too. If you look carefully in this picture, you'll see a few pacu, but there were several different species of piranhas that we caught. And of course, your gratuitous piranha pick. So let's get back to the point. Project Piaba, right? So Cardinal Tetras are the poster fish for this region because they represent probably about 75%, maybe 80% of the fish that are exported out of this region. Everybody, we know this, right? We started out growing up with neons and Cardinal Tetras. Why is that? Because they're just amazingly colorful. Around the world, people love Cardinal Tetras, love neon Tetras. We only had Cardinal Tetras in this region. Cardinal Tetras are much more restricted region-wise. So as we said, there's a number of different species, thousands of species in the Amazon basin. There's a couple of stats here that I need to shore up. When I was doing this presentation, I had seen that there were 5,500 species of fish roughly in the Amazon. The Rio Negro had about 2,500 species. Last year, there was a paper presented, a paper that was published that showed that there were only about 2,700 species of fish that were known in the Amazon, and about 11 or 1,200 that were found in the Rio Negro. So I need to shore up those details, but the bottom line is that there are thousands. We can easily say there are thousands of species of fish that are found in this region. This slide's a little outdated when I have about 250 of these species that are approved for export out of Brazil. Up until early this year, maybe it was the end of last year, Brazil, as opposed to Peru and Colombia and some of the surrounding countries, had what was called a blacklist. I'm sorry, a whitelist. They just had a whitelist, and basically, of the thousands of species of fish that were allowed to be exported out of Brazil, that are found in Brazil, only 250 species of these thousands that are found in Brazil were able to be exported. So a lot of the stuff that we see, like a lot of these fancy stingrays and a lot of these fancy plecos and stuff that we know came from Brazil because they're endemic to particular river systems, most of them were basically smuggled through Peru. Peru had a very different, had a much more open export of the fish that are found in the Peruvian section of the Amazon. This year, last year or this year, things have changed. So now there's just a blacklist. Instead of that 250 species whitelist, now there is a blacklist of, I don't know what the number is, but there's it's sort of the inverse of this, where there's hundreds of species that are not allowed to leave Brazil, but there are a lot more species now that are allowed to be exported out of Brazil. Now, of course, combine this with COVID. Right now, we're not seeing a lot of this, but it's exciting news for us hobbyists because there's lots of opportunity that hopefully is going to be coming out where we'll be able to get some of these species that we've all heard of or used to know of because the restrictions are going to be loosened up a little bit. And there's no fishing from May through August because this is when the water is the highest. We're going to talk about this in a second here. So there's basically two seasons, rainy season and the not so rainy season. The rainy season you can see from December through May. The dry season is from June through November. The rivers can rise up to 40 feet. It's pretty incredible. The Rio Negro itself can get up to 20 miles wide at points, and the plants and animals, of course, are adapted to this. I want to call your attention to these two structures. We're standing in this picture here. We're standing right down by the water's edge of the river. And if you look at those two structures now, and then you see them in the wet season and the flooded season, these are the same two structures from a different angle, but you can see how incredibly high the river gets. This is that same picture, but I'm sorry, this is one of those structures we just saw there. And you can see there's no getting out and walking around. It's getting in your boat in order to get where you need to go. Again, rivers are the highways. So during the rainy season, when the waters flood, this creates new spawning grounds, which is open to the fish. Fish have these areas where they can spawn. The population soars due to new habitat availability, and then when the water recedes, a lot of these fish are getting trapped in these puddles or lakes, these oxbow lakes. And as the water either evaporates, goes down, many of these fish die or are subject to predation. And that's sort of the whole point of Project Piaba here, is a lot of times these the fishermen and fisherwomen down there will use these areas and collect fish from these spots, obviously because it's easier to collect the fish. Fish are more concentrated. So we're going to talk about the supply chain here, and I just want to show you this map of Barcelos. Manaus is down in your right corner, right on the Amazon, and again, going up the Rio Negro, this is Barcelos up here. This area around the circle there is the area that Project Piaba concentrates on. There are villages dotted all around through those rivers and tributaries that have people that collect fish. And Barcelos is sort of the main hub of this region. And what happens is the local people will take their little dugout canoes and they'll go up into their tributaries around their areas, again, in that big circle around Barcelos. It might be hundreds of miles away. And they have this thing where they sort of tap and splash the water, and they say this attracts the fish, and the fish come closer. And then what they do is they use these large nets. They're called repashes. And if you can see right up above me here, I have a small version up on my mantle here. But they take a stick or a paddle and they herd the fish into these nets. They pull the nets out of the water. They scoop them out with these containers and put them in these baskets that are lined with plastic. And then what they do is they go back to their villages. In their villages, they create these little holding pens. They put the fish in these holding pens, and once they get a number of fish, usually for a week or maybe 2 weeks, then what they do is they hop in their boats and they make the trip to Barcelos. Once they get to Barcelos, they sell the fish to the aggregators, the collectors there, and what they do is they buy the fish. These central suppliers here will buy the fish from the villagers, and they will hold them in these containers, and they will keep them in these little containers in a shady spot on the side of the river. Once they get enough, these collectors here get enough, then what they do is, this picture here shows another holding container. So some of the more valuable fish like the discus, things like that, they will keep in these holding containers in the river itself and not in those little plastic containers. But essentially what they do then is they take all these fish, they hop in their boats, and then they travel the 300 miles down to Manaus and sell to the wholesalers and to the distributors in Manaus. There's a whole ton of people down in Manaus, a whole ton of businesses down in Manaus that have all kinds of modern holding containers and holding tanks. They collect the fish from all over the Amazon region there. And then what they do is they take them and ship them all around the world. From around the world when they ship around the world, they go to pet stores and wholesalers, other additional wholesalers around the world. And then, of course, they end up in our aquariums. So let's talk about the supply chain again. Let's sort of summarize this here, okay? If you look on the left, you have the Piaberos and the Piaberas. Those are the fishermen and fisherwomen, the indigenous fishermen and fisherwomen in the villages. You have multiples of them. They're collecting the fish. They go to Barcelos for holding. Barcelos, they go down the Rio Negro to Manaus. Manaus takes them and ships them around the world to various wholesalers and pet stores. And then the wholesalers, of course, ship to pet stores too. And then they go to our home aquariums. Let's talk about the money flow, because this is what's important, right? So you and I go to our pet store. We pay money for the fish. That money goes to the wholesalers. The wholesalers pay the money to Manaus. The wholesalers and distributors in Manaus pay the money to the people in Barcelos that are holding the fish. And those people in Barcelos that are holding the fish pay the fishermen and fisherwomen in the villages there. But here's the problem. If we talk about captive raised fish, right? We have our home aquarium, we go to the pet store, we give our money to the pet store gives them to the wholesalers, but that's it. It doesn't go any farther than that a lot of times. The native country doesn't have that revenue, that income, because the wholesalers are captive breeding these fish, and that's one of the issues with captive raised animals. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong here, I am not saying captive raised animals are bad. That's not what this is. But in this particular region here, it is extremely important to support the local fishermen and fisherwomen in those areas. They're getting the revenue. We're going to talk more about this. So if you do the math, fish are a pretty valuable resource. We take Cardinal Tetra as an example. They sell in a pet store for anywhere from $2 to $3. Each Cardinal Tetra weighs about a half a gram, and you can just sort of see the math, how it all works out. A kilo of Cardinal Tetras is worth about $6,000 potentially. So it's more profitable than food fish. So it's a very good thing. And the problem is this, the aquarium industry has really exploded post-World War II with the increase in air travel. Fishes from that region, from the Amazon, became very popular. We all know, looking at Tropical Fish Hobbyists and some of those early magazines, seeing those pictures of people collecting fish in those areas just got us all excited, right? And during all these years, those decades post World War II, the aquarium industry really just boomed. In 2000, there were thousands of fishermen and fisherwomen in the region supplying fish to the world. But the problem is, 2003, that's when they started captive breeding Cardinal Tetras using hormones. And today, there's a significantly less number of Piaberos that are in that whole region collecting fish. Some say that the economy of Barcelos was 60 to 80% due to the aquarium industry, and now it's significantly smaller, maybe 10%. And it really became, it was really due primarily to captive breeding of the Cardinal Tetras. It was the single most damaging aspect of the local industry. So, Project Piaba, what is Project Piaba doing? So one of the things that they're doing is they established what's called a geographical indication. And we're familiar with this, but we really don't know what it is. If you look on the right there, you see Champagne, Parmesan, Reggiano cheese, Roquefort, Cognac, Washington apples, Napa Valley wines. These are all names that we think of with distinction, right? But these are products from a specific region or a specific area. And these names evoke a particular quality of product and a reputation that is strictly linked to that geographical origin. Well, Project Piaba went through all kinds of paperwork to get Cardinal Tetra as the first live animal that has now become a geographical indication for this region here. So we're hoping that by increasing the awareness of wild-caught fish from this region, it allows people to associate it with quality and give it a prestige that people are going to demand. The other thing Project Piaba has done is really help with best handling practices. We have Project Piaba has local people in the field down there, which train some of the fishermen and fisherwomen down there to understand not just to collect the fish, but how to keep the fish in the meantime and how to keep them well. Feed the fish, for instance. Treat them a little bit more kindly when they're pulling them out of the nets. All those things are extremely important, as we know, giving a little TLC to those fish. These Piaberos don't know what it's like to keep fish. And I use the analogy, it's like we know a lot of sport fishermen, right? They're great at catching fish, but they don't have a single clue as to how to keep fish alive. And that's sort of what it is in the Amazon region like that. So Project Piaba is really helping to really focusing on trying to educate the fishermen and fisherwomen and the whole transport all the way through into Manaus before they get shipped out, so that this way the quality of the fish that get shipped around the world are top notch. And they're also working with the airline industry to try to ensure direct routing. Project Piaba is working with trying to get carbon offset funds. Carbonfund.org. There was a representative there on the trip that I was in 2 years ago who did a feature case, a case study on Project Piaba. And this goes along with the geographical indication is that they're trying to put together, Project Piaba is trying to put together their own holding facility so that this way they have that traceability of the fish that get collected by the people who are part of that Orna Pesca, which is the fishing co-op. So this way, if we know, you and I know that when we go to the pet store, when we buy a particular fish, it comes from, it's routed through this supply chain that Project Piaba is working with, that those are going to be higher quality animals, and that's what we're wanting. Working with vets, veterinarians, help in research, understanding diagnosis of diseases, and even organizing this expedition. Every year they have this expedition. It's in January, and anybody can go. It doesn't matter who you are. All you got to do is pay the money, of course. You go, spend 2 weeks down on the Amazon really learning. You're not collecting fish to bring back. You're collecting a lot of fish, not to bring back, though, unfortunately. It's more for research and for you understanding what's happening in that region down there. I just want to, this is in the river. Take a look at that low picture there. Take a look at that pH. That's pretty low pH there. So when we talk about Barcelos, there are two things that are important in this region: fish and God. That is it. Those are the important things down there. In the city square, they have this big, huge aquarium. You can see the Rio Negro right in the back of that picture there, where they have a lot of the fish that are from that region right there. And every year they do a fish festival. This is pretty incredible. This is sort of in the middle of the whole trip. So the Project Piaba expedition is oriented around this fish festival in Barcelos. People from hundreds of miles around the Amazon flock to this small town and participate in this fish festival. It is that the town around this time of year is, everybody is decorating their houses, the streets. It is a big, huge party. And it's basically two teams. There's the Cardinal Tetras team and the Discus team. It's sort of like Browns in Pittsburgh, right? It's you are rooting passionately for your team. These are the two most important exports out of this region. And there are things all around town. You can see paintings, you can see pictures. They even have souvenirs, t-shirts, everything all over town. They even built a stadium especially for this event. They bring judges, they fly judges in from around Brazil to judge the competition. Performances, you can see, I have written here, are judged on originality, choreography, costumes, sportsmanship, and all I can tell you is it is a combination of a rock concert and a Broadway play, and it is just high energy. But it all tells the story of the culture of the area and the important figures and the diversity of animals and plants that are found there. And this is it here. These people go crazy, absolutely crazy. The stadium is literally divided, not physically, but people in the stadium are all on one side. You're on the Cardinal Tetras side and you're waving your flags and you're dressed up, or you're on the other side and you're dressed in your gold and yellow and you are the Discus, and people go nuts. When the festival starts, when it actually starts, the two teams go independently. So the first team will go up and they will go for probably 2.5 hours doing their show. And while, let's say, the Discus team is doing it, the Cardinal Tetra team the Cardinal Tetra fans need to be quiet and not scream, not yell, not heckle. If they do, the Discus team loses points, and vice versa. It's very civilized. And the costumes are absolutely amazing. They really are. They take hours to get on makeup. They, as you can see here, they'll put costumes on top of other costumes, all kinds of resources to ornament with feathers and flowers and beads, and this is amazing me. Some of the dresses that some of the women can be over 30 pounds, and they're sitting there dancing in their high heels, and this is what things look like. It's incredible, and it's different every year. Just again, spectacular. You wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. The guys are involved. You can see it is a culture down there. This is how important the ornamental fish industry is. You do these big, huge floats. I think you can get an idea of the size of these floats there. Every year they come up with different floats. And the most amazing thing about this is that it is not for tourists. They're not doing this for anybody else but for the people of Brazil. And when we're down there, there's maybe 20 of us, whatever it was, 20 some of us, and they just think we're crazy because we're coming down there to see fish. So here's a 4-minute video. I'm going to try to go through this. We won't watch it because I know we're running short on time. We're almost done here, but I do want to show you. This is the stadium here. And this is the presentation that they put on. These are the performances. And again, people just go crazy. And you can see these are nets. You'll see a lot of times when they do these choreography dances, they have nets. Skip ahead a little bit. Kids are involved. These are the judges sitting there watching. And of course, fireworks. You can see they're catching fish with their rapashi nets. There's a good example of a big float. Live music, of course. And again, Cardinal Tetras, Discus. Unfortunately, the Cardinal Tetras tend to win more. I was really rooting for Discus, but I didn't have anything to say about it, of course. So the bottom line of this whole thing is that the fisheries for the aquarium trade serve as the first line of defense for the rainforest. The people that collect the fish down there know that these fish are their livelihood. And so they want to try to protect their livelihood. Their purpose is not necessarily to protect the Amazon River, the dolphins, macaws, and all that you see here. All these animals do benefit from the protection that these fishing communities, because these fishing communities are collecting these fish down there. These little fish that we buy, that we go to the pet stores and buy, are helping to save the rainforest and all these animals in it. So again, it's a sustainable harmony between humans and the environment, and it's our three pillars: people, planet, and profit. And that's what Project Piaba is all about, trying to make these things work all in harmony. So with that, I want to say thank you guys very much for letting me talk to you about this. It's a project that I am passionate about, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this. And with that, I guess I can answer some questions, or however we want to do this.
Yeah, hey, Nick. I had someone actually text me in a question. Turns out people on YouTube, by the way, go full screen so they don't see the chat too much. But here's one of the questions that was sent. Let me see here. I got it right here. Where'd it go? I just had that. Okay. What impact is the Brazilian government having on Project Piaba as they continue to install dams on the Rio de Janeiro river system?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't believe there's any dams in the Rio Negro necessarily, not in that region. So Project Piaba is pretty limited to the Rio Negro itself. So I don't know the answer to that. I do know that there's a lot of concern because the Brazilian government has recently changed, and the new regime, as I understand it, I'm sure there's other people much more knowledgeable than I am about this, but the new regime is not nearly as environmentally focused. They, I believe, are looking at it more as, well, this is our resource. Why are you guys, impinging upon our resource? If you guys cut down all your forests, why are you telling us not to cut down our forests or dams or whatever the situation is? Mm-hmm. I don't know specifically, but I do know that is a concern.
Got another question here. Basically, how do we know if the fish we buy are coming from Piaba?
So that's a very good question. And the answer to this is simply to ask, okay? Let me make one clarification first. So when you go to buy fish, you're not buying fish from Project Piaba. When we go to the pet store, what you want is to ask for wild-caught fish that are found in the Rio Negro region. Project Piaba facilitates, they don't sell anything. Project Piaba is a nonprofit organization. And I can tell you that locally in our area, there's 2 pet stores that I am aware of that I have spoken with directly, which are really excited about getting to know more about Project Piaba and to supply some fish that may have come that Project Piaba have influenced. And that's RMS, which again, has made a wonderful donation to Project Piaba. Thank you very much. And then I do know that Aquatica is very interested in learning more about Project Piaba too. And I do know that they do sell some wild-caught fish from that region. Other places may not be aware of it, unfortunately. It's really difficult to get the message out to everybody. So it's sort of our job as hobbyists to go to your pet store and ask. And if they're not aware of it, make them aware of it. Look up Project Piaba and be familiar with it.
So how does someone make donations to Project Piaba?
Well, you can get on the website, projectpiaba.org. There's a Facebook page. Those are your easiest ones. You can always contact me. You can contact me at the zoo, or you can contact me through my personal email. I'll give that to you now. It's nzarlinga@gmail.com. nzarlinga@gmail.com.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'll type it out for everybody.
Sure. It's nzarlinga@gmail.com. And I can put you in contact with the appropriate people.
You know, one thing I was thinking about, I was watching a presentation. I know a lot of pet stores get piranha, and they're from the Amazon. How is that a part of Piaba?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if that well, again, Project Piaba is focusing on trying to increase the diversity of fish that come from that region. There's been a lot of challenges over the years. And I don't believe that piranhas are, I don't know if they were on that list that from that region that came out of Brazil, or if piranhas only came out of Peru. I don't know the answer to that, but there's no direct association between Project Piaba and piranhas. But Project Piaba, again, the whole point of it is a socioeconomic effort to try to facilitate the export or the collection of fish from this region, so that this way, of whatever kind of fish are coming out, so that this way the local people have a source of sustainable income.
Yeah, that's very important. Just that whole system, how that works, and making sure that I mean, we don't think about that too often when we keep our fish. That
we don't.
You know, people are, that they're the ones who get the income from it.
Yeah, right.
So.
And that was a big realization. Is you know, it just smacks you in the face like that. We go to the store and say, "Oh, I just want some Cardinal." Again, I'm just using Cardinal Tetras as an example, just because it's extremely common, right? It doesn't matter what it is. And you go to the store and you look in there and you say, "Okay, I'll take 4 of those." And we don't think about where those Cardinal Tetras came from. Most of them are probably captive raised. But if we go there and make an effort to say, I want wild Cardinal Tetras. Now, one person asking a pet store isn't going to make a difference, right? But the more that we are involved in it and understand and know that this is going to help that environment down there, why not? That's what we should be doing, right? It just helps out. The saltwater industry, for any of the folks that keep saltwater animals, especially reef aquariums, know that there's a big issue with collecting from the wild and over collecting, and a lot of that is really overstated. But this here, that's what I really love about this project, is it really highlights the fact that this is a sustainable resource. When these fish are collected, they've done studies for years and years and years. They're not reducing the populations whatsoever. So that's why it's so good. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. So Cardinal Tetras, like you were saying before, they were not being captive bred until hormones were introduced. Discus, though, those have been, that's a little different there. People breed those quite a bit in their homes and hobbies and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
So.
That is true. But discus are a little bit different, because there's so many different strains and varieties of discus that are not wild. There's only 4 species of wild discus, 3 or 4 species of wild discus, right? But all of the ones that we tend to see, the ones with all the really fancy colors and stuff like that, those are all captive bred. Those are all line bred for particular things, whether it's Watley or Schmidt-Fock or whatever it is, all those lines right there. So, but if you're looking for if you're a purist, I'm more of a purist myself. I like the wild form of something as opposed to the captive propagated form of what it is. Get discus, and if you specify that from them coming from that area, you're really doing a whole heck of a lot to help that area. And cichlids, there's a lot of cichlids. There's I think in that paper that I had mentioned, because this is OCA, between cichlids and catfish, this paper suggests that almost half of the species of fish that are found in the Rio Negro alone are cichlids and catfish. There's 105 or 107 different species of cichlids from that area too. So as I affectionately call us cichlidiates, if we're looking for wild-caught cichlids, let's see what's in that region, and let's say we want these particular fish to come from the Rio Negro. That's what we're looking for. And if a number of us ask frequently enough, it's supply and demand, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we showed at the very beginning, I love the different types of pike cichlids, but the dwarf pike cichlids, I almost never see them in the hobby. And that would be something to have them brought over.
That surprised me a lot too. Like I said, I always, growing up with fish and stuff, pike cichlids were, 8, 12-inch long, and then, in some just amazing colors and all that kind of thing, and not that there's anything wrong with it. Those are fantastic. But if you only have a 55-gallon tank, you've got a pair of those, and that's about it, right? But if you have small dwarf pike cichlids, you can mix them with all kinds of stuff. And for me, it was just, it just blew my head off. I was just absolutely amazed at the different species of pike cichlids they were. I'm not up on my pike cichlid taxonomy, but it was more than I was familiar with.
Got one other question here. I'll post it on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, but it says, Citrus Farms in Florida is a huge wholesale distributor that sells nationwide to hundreds of pet stores. Do they purchase from Piava? If not, wouldn't they be a place to start pushing this agenda?
So Seagrass, it's Seagrass with a G. Seagrass, yes, is one of the biggest supporters of Project Piaba. So Seagrass, so Project Piaba works very closely with Seagrass to track shipments, to hold shipments, and to distribute fish that come from this region. If you are a wholesaler, if you're a pet store listening in on this and you go to Seagrass, they actually have a section on their wholesale list of fish that are Project Piaba fish. I just want to make one specific point again. You're not purchasing from Project Piaba, just so that I just want to hammer that home. It's just, it's you can say Project Piaba has sort of facilitated to have a section, again, on Seagrass wholesale list that, these animals are directly coming from this region. So yes, Seagrass is an excellent source for Project Piaba fish.
Very cool. Well, does anybody else out there have any more questions for Nick before we conclude this monthly session? Give the people just a couple of minutes here, and then we'll close it out. But
so again, I want to thank everybody. Again, let me thank you for letting me spend this Friday night with you. I love geeking out on this stuff. Conservation is my passion. I really do enjoy it, and when I can mix conservation with my first love of fish, it doesn't get any better than that. It's incredible, and that's fascinating.
So what would it cost for an individual to go over there to help out with any humanitarian work?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you're talking about Project Piaba specifically, the expedition, I don't know what the latest figures are. It's not cheap, but I can tell you you are very well cared for on that boat. They have a staff of people. They cook for you. They do everything for you. Your bunk is, your bunks in your room are well cared for. You are, while you are out in the field, first thing in the morning at sunup sometimes, you come back for lunch, you grab lunch, you go back out, come back for dinner, you go back out. It's a bit expensive. I want to say it's somewhere around $2,500 or something like that, just for that. And you have to get down there too, so it's not cheap. But I'll tell you what, it's worth it. It's crazy. If you're talking about just, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do a lot of trips for young adults.
Okay.
With doing humanitarian work and going to different third world countries and different things like that. And I was just curious, what if we were to take a young adult group down there to help out with Piaba? What would that look like?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's probably not a youth group type trip. It's pretty.
Well, they're college students.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that could be. That's true. And basically, so let me explain a little further. Project Piaba contracts out an ecotourism company that's down there. So that boat that you saw that we spent our time on, that is not Project Piaba's boat. It would be wonderful if it was, but it's not. Project Piaba organizes the trip for people who are interested in going down, and then they contract this company out. And I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head, but they have, so the owner of the company is also the naturalist, as well as a couple other local naturalists that, local people, Brazilians that are down there doing this. So it's a Brazilian company. So that money goes to ecotourism in Brazil, and they take you up and down the river, and they take you into the tributaries, and they do all that kind of stuff for you. And they're extremely knowledgeable. It is amazing, but it's not just fish groups that use this company. There are people from around the world, whether they're bird watchers or whether they're herp people or whatever. They contract this ecotourism. The ecotourism company tailors the trip for the length of time and the whatever the discipline is. Again, whether you're a bird watcher or whether you're a herper or fish people or whatever it is, to do all that.
I think Don Denko is probably going to be going on this trip here soon. Hearing about bird watching.
I think the only problem with that is, again, you can't collect it. Well, if it was for bird watching, but you can't collect any fish to bring back, unfortunately.
No, he takes photographs of birds. He's on our board. He's hilarious.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that would be really cool to, even for fish clubs who are watching this, to say, hey, let's put a trip together and make that something that where we get some members who would be willing to go be a part of that. So,
and again, the important thing to understand is that it's about learning of the ecosystem and learning about the resources of the Amazon, and then the culmination is seeing that festival. That's really the highlight, to see that. And if I can just expound upon that a little bit, the festival starts at like 9 o'clock at night. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And each side, the Discus side and the Cardinal Tetras side, go for probably 2.5 hours of straight high intensity dancing and singing and everything. Then there's a half-hour intermission, and then the second group goes. So it starts at like 9 o'clock. We didn't get done until like 2:30 in the morning. It was absolutely, I mean, it's just crazy.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could impart that upon everybody to really understand. You'll see, you can YouTube it. There's all kinds of videos and pictures from the festival like that, but it really is just energizing. It lifts you up. You just see the passion. It really is something.
Cool. Well, there's no other questions that have come in, so we're gonna close out this month's live stream. We want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for participating in this. Like I said, the more people who participate, the more exciting it makes it for us to continue to do things like this. And we saw there's a pretty good attendance watching this one. And this is just a taste of things to come with what's going to be happening with the Virtual Extravaganza and all the presentations we're going to be doing there. We live in a world right now where this is kind of the way we have to do things. And so we're trying to get creative and innovative and making it happen. And so please register for the Virtual Extravaganza. Thanks again, Nick, for this amazing presentation. It's always fascinating learning about different people groups and what is happening around the world and how we can make a difference. So we appreciate it very much that you took the time to present this to everyone. And this will be on YouTube, so you can share this with your friends, and it'll also be on our Facebook page, the OCA, Ohio Cichlids Association Facebook group, and it'll be there. Again, you can share it. Let other people know how they can make a difference with Piava. So thanks so much for watching, and we appreciate it. And we'll stay tuned for next month. So take care, guys.
Thank
See you later.
Bye.